It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning broadcast covering fishing, hunting, and outdoor recreation throughout the Great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, producing a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter, and by Loophole, America's optical authority. Also sponsoring the show every week is Shiloh Inn & Suites, offering affordable excellence throughout the West. Mardon Resort, the place to fish and hunt in eastern Washington, and the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce, where nature is on display in Northeast Oregon all year long. And now, let's head into the field with your host, John Cruz.
We're getting close to the end of the year. We're getting close to Christmas. The snow's been falling through much of the Northwest. I'd say we might have a real winter this year. And with winter fun in mind, we're taking you to a very unique place in western Montana this week. It's called the Isaac Walton Inn. It's located right on the border of Glacier National Park. Holly Dumais with this inn that caters not only to folks who drive in, but also folks who show up on the Empire Builder Amtrak train, is going to tell you all about the inn, the food there, the unique lodgings, and the winter fun you can have on skis and snowshoes as well. We've got some fishing to talk about too. We're talking to Clancy Holt, a longtime steelhead and salmon fishing guide who has, in my mind, obtained a legendary status. And believe it or not, he is still guiding in Western Washington. He's going to talk to us not only about the guiding and the fishing he's doing, but also about changes in fisheries that have happened over the course of his career. There's been quite a few, and he's going to weigh in on what's good and maybe what's not so good. Speaking of guides, we've got the latest fishing and hunting reports from Jody Smith of Jody Smith's Guide Service out of Elkton, Oregon. Now, Jody covers a lot of ground in Southwest Oregon, as you're soon going to find out. Everything from winter steelhead fishing to, believe it or not, Christmas turkeys. That's right, it's not too late to bag a Christmas turkey this year. The season runs through December 31st in Oregon State, and in Western Oregon, you've got a legitimate shot at bringing home that Christmas gobbler. We've got outdoor news about a new predator being introduced into the Northwest by wildlife officials, an update on duck and goose hunting from the Columbia Basin, and several fishing reports focusing on trout, both big and small, from all over the Northwest. In addition to this, we've got an extended Max Minute with Lance Mers, focusing on a steelhead jig that works well on central Washington's Wenatchee River, and our trivia question of the week, where you get a chance to win a $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse. Heck, we've even got a few upcoming events for you, sure to get you not only outside, but in the Christmas spirit too. But first, David Sparks is back with another edition of Sportsman Spotlight. This week, he talks about an important agricultural program that helps protect habitat for wildlife throughout the nation.
ASAP to help protect critical water resources and wildlife habitat. David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight. The Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, known as ASAP, was created by the 2014 Farm Bill to protect critical water resources and wildlife habitat and encourage private owners to maintain land for farming and ranching. Through the voluntary sale of an easement, landowners limit future development to protect these key resources. I called the Natural Resources Conservation Service and talked to spokesperson Cindy Ramos.
The Agricultural Conservation Easement Programs, agricultural land easements, not only protect the long-term viability of the nation's food supply by preventing conversion of productive working lands to non-agricultural uses. They also support environmental quality, wildlife habitat, historic preservation, and protection of open spaces.
Native American tribes, state and local governments, and non-governmental organizations that have farmland or grassland protection programs are eligible to partner with Natural Resources Conservation Service in order to purchase conservation easements. We all know we're losing agricultural lands to development, 43 million acres across the country over the past 30 years. And this is why agricultural land easements are so critical to outdoorsmen. They will help ensure that we have the land we need for wildlife conservation, which in turn leads to hunting and fishing habitat and opportunity. This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
Farmer Carl Trehold talks about Northwest Farm Credit Services crop insurance.
Farm credit has always stuck with us. In a tough year, that's a real plus. Crop insurance is about the only risk management you have. With today's input costs, you can't hardly fund it by yourself without some kind of surety that you're going to survive in case you have a calamity. It covers you in case you have a wreck.
Northwest Farm Credit Services, here to help you grow. Equal opportunity provider.
I don't know of many other companies that put as much effort into education as we do.
Northwest Farm Credit Services crop insurance agent Sean Platiger.
The Business Management Center is definitely one of the tools that's available that's sometimes I don't think we talk about it enough. But producers who go to continuing education, it never fails. They come away with new ideas, new objectives, new goals.
Northwest Farm Credit Services, here to help you grow. Equal opportunity provider.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of its Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
At Loophole Optics, they guarantee performance. Those other optics companies, they just warranty failure. That's why every Loophole product has a lifetime guarantee. Think of it as a warranty you'll never need to cash in on. Find out more at loophole.com.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and we are taking you somewhere really special this week. It's called the Isaac Walton Inn. It's located at the western border of Glacier National Park in northwest Montana. With us here to tell us more about it is Holly Dumais. She works with Isaac Walton Inn and several other companies owned by the family that owns this place. Holly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. I'm excited to be in this morning.
Well, Holly, why don't you give our listeners who are not familiar with the Isaac Walton Inn, I got to visit there about 9 years ago, fell in love with the place, but tell our listeners a little bit about this very unique place.
Fantastic. Well, we are a little old inn nestled in the Great Bear Wilderness, just right on the border of Glacier National Park. We're about halfway between East Glacier and West Glacier. We are an old inn originally built for the railroad, for the old Great Northern Railroaders, back in 1939. So we are one of the original last inns located on a flag stop train station. So you can take the train all the way up right to our front door, which is definitely makes us very unique and sets us apart from many other inns.
Absolutely. In fact, folks, the Empire Builder, which travels from Seattle through Spokane and then through Montana, goes all the way to Minneapolis and down to Chicago. You can take that Amtrak train. It'll drop you off right there at the Isaac Walton Inn. It's just an amazing opportunity to have a very unique adventure in a special part of Montana. Now, there's a little bit more to the inn. It's not just the inn itself. You actually have some caboose cars that you've converted into lodging as well.
We do. We actually have some caboose rentals. They've been fully renovated, and they're fantastic. They are the old caboose cars that we completely renovated. They have full kitchen area, living area, dining areas, as well as they have a couple twin-size beds up in the cupola in the cabooses themselves. We have also added some newly renovated luxury cabooses. They come completely decked out with luxury finishes as well. So those are pretty cool. We have our gem, if you will, of our luxury rail cars is called the Locomotive. It's a 441 locomotive. Spectacular. It's definitely a must-see if you're traveling to the Isaac Walton Inn.
All right. Well, this sounds fantastic. Now, it's not just a place to sleep. It's also a place to drop by and have a drink and have a meal, too. You've got quite the restaurant operation going there, don't you?
We absolutely do. It's fairly undiscovered. You don't really expect that caliber of a restaurant to be right there on site. We like to call ourselves a 4-star restaurant, and dining, it's spectacular. We host a lot of fine dining and wine dinners from our restaurant.
Oh, I actually would not have guessed that. So is there a specialty food item or a specialty drink that the Isaac Walton Inn is known for?
Well, not necessarily, but some of the more popular dishes that we're known for is our beef stroganoff, our beef tenderloin. It's amazing. Definitely a must try.
Okay, well, you've got me hungry already. That sounds pretty interesting. So you've got a great place to stay. You've got the food. You can actually get there on the train. You can also drive up, folks. You can drive up year-round as well, but check the weather conditions before you go. And once you're there, you're obviously watching the trains come and go. But there's some winter activities, too. You actually have things for people to do on-site and off-site.
Absolutely. We are actually on the National Historic Register. Like I mentioned before, we're built in 1939. It's almost like a museum when you walk into the inn of old railroad memorabilia throughout the entire hotel. You'll see as you walk through the lobby, as you walk downstairs through the Flagstaff bar, you're going to see nothing but old railroad memorabilia all over the walls. It's actually fantastic. It really takes you back in time when you're walking through the inn, and that's definitely a fantastic activity to kind of do while you're there. Other activities include in the wintertime, we have cross-country skiing. We have over 33 kilometers of groomed cross-country ski trails out there. We do some night skiing. We do classic and skate cross-country skiing. Snowshoeing is also available. Summertime, there's, those cross-country ski trails we just mentioned. Those actually turn into hiking trails. There's just miles and miles of outdoor recreation to be had out there. It's also a fly fisherman's paradise as well. Just up the road from the inn is the old goat lick. You can actually travel up about 5 minutes away from the inn and view mountain goats right on the mountain.
Yep, been there, done that, and folks, if you're there, especially in the summer, more likely than not, you're going to see quite a few mountain goats. In fact, there's a lot of mountain goats in Glacier National Park, period. It's just an incredible place to visit. You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Holly Dumais. She's with the Isaac Walton Inn, which borders Glacier National Park. It's an old railroad hotel, for lack of a better word, that's been converted into something very unique. You can get there by train. You can get there by car. You're going to love it. So, Holly, let me ask you a little bit more about the cross-country skiing and about the snowshoeing. Obviously, some folks are bringing their own gear, but if they don't bring it and they decide they want to participate in these activities, do you have rentals there? Do you have guided trips?
Absolutely. We definitely have ski lessons, guided backcountry trips as well. We have full rentals right on site, snowshoes, cross-country skis, you bet. We've made it just about as easy as we possibly can for you guys.
So tell me a little bit more about these guided trips. Are these with just a person who knows how to ski or snowshoe, or is it somebody who kind of shares the natural area and it has kind of a naturalist background, for lack of a better word, go ahead and share the local flavor of the place?
We've had the same on-site ski pro for several years now who is an avid outdoorsman and shares the genuine love for the sport. He absolutely has been doing this for several years with us and really truly knows the backcountry up there, and he knows his way around up there, and he does this in the winter times just more or less simply because he loves it and he loves to share it with our guests.
Now, the Isaac Walton Inn, at least my experience is, you're certainly welcome to come up and visit for the day and enjoy a meal in the restaurant or have a drink in the bar. But if you want to stay, even in winter, you want to participate in one of these programs, you probably need to reserve in advance, don't you?
Absolutely. You would definitely want to jump on our website, check out our availability. It definitely books up fast. I recommend at least booking 2 to 3 weeks in advance.
And do you need booking for the restaurants as well? And obviously, I'm guessing you definitely do for the guided trips in terms of snowshoeing and cross-country skiing.
We definitely do. We do require just a couple weeks in advance for reservations for the guided trips. Restaurant reservations, and if you're coming during the holidays, absolutely. You definitely want to make a reservation as we have a lot going on during the holiday season. Otherwise, it's fairly okay if you just want to drop into our restaurant as well unannounced. You're more than welcome to do that too.
All right. Well, folks, it's the Isaac Walton Inn. Find out more at their website. It's Isaac, and that's with a Z, Isaac, I-Z-A-A-K, waltoninn.com. Truly a unique place, and if you're a train lover, you're going to love this place even more. But there's a whole bunch of winter ahead, a whole bunch of outdoors fun to be had there. Check it out. It's the Isaac Walton Inn. Find out more. Make your reservations at isaacwaltoninn.com. Holly, thanks for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wake up to winter in Wallowa County. Grab your camera and don your skis for some Nordic skiing adventure at Salt Creek Summit or Wallowa Lake. Or spend the day on the family-friendly slopes of Fergie Ridge. Or slip into a set of skates and enjoy some time on the ice at our outdoor ice rink. Need to warm up? Then grab a cup of coffee or hot chocolate at one of our fine coffee and confectionery shops. And when evening comes, enjoy some of Wallowa County's fine dining and gaze at the stars before you dream of tomorrow's adventures. Your winter adventure begins at www.wallawacountychamber.com.
Need a lightweight camp stove for your next adventure? The new Striker Series stove from Camp Chef is the perfect solution. 2 models of this single-burner stove let you cook using propane or isobutane. The heat ring technology built into the stove's cookware lets you boil water in less than 2 minutes. And like everything else in the Camp Chef line, the Striker Series stove is built tough. If you hike, paddle, hunt, or fish and cook while you do it, you're going to love the Striker Series stove. Find it at your local sporting goods store or at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Hi, this is Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. Many of our Shiloh customers have been visiting our Shiloh locations for years, and here's an example of someone who wouldn't stay anywhere else.
Sometimes I go visit family, but most of the time I travel back and forth for business. And the best part is that I always travel with my dog Lucky, and he's welcome at any of the Shiloh Inns. I love their beds, beautiful rooms, really clean. The staff go out of their way to make me feel comfortable. Man, I'm telling you, at the end of the day, do I ever enjoy that pool and the spa. Plus, free breakfast. I love Shiloh Inns.
We invite all of you to try Shiloh Inns the next time you're traveling for business or pleasure. Call 1-800-222-2244 or visit our website at shilohins.com. Shiloh Inns, affordable excellence. American family-owned and proud of it.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us this week, Lance Mers from Max Lure Company. Lance, steelhead season is here, and a lot of people enjoy either twitching jigs or fishing jigs under bobbers. Now, this works whether or not you can use bait. A lot of rivers in the Northwest, bait is not allowed. For those rivers, what do you recommend folks use?
You know, John, once the rivers start blowing out a little bit better and we get some more clarity, one of the things is called the Glow Getter Marabou Jig by Max Lure, of course. And the cool thing about it is it's got a solid black head with big glow white eyes. It's made of marabou, which is nothing more than chicken feathers, and it really gives a lifelike action in the water.
Well, you know, here in central Washington, where we live, the Wenatchee River has just opened up, and I've spent many a winter fishing these jigs under slip bobbers for steelhead. The traditional color around here up in north central Washington is generally purple and black, but I've had success with the one you have in your hand. Red and white is actually a really good winter color for me. Black and white, skunk, has always been a big producer for me too. So these things work, folks. I've caught a lot of steelhead out of the Wenatchee, and there's rivers like the Entiat open too, and yeah, these will work on the Columbia River too. Anywhere else that you fished them?
You know, the Klickitat River, the Deschutes River, you know, they provide really good steelhead fishing, you know, and the cool thing about it is it's got 15 different colors and 3 different sizes.
Well, let's talk about the sizes, because I've noticed over the years people have been downsizing their jigs. How small do we go here?
Well, our smallest size is a 1/8, and then we've got a 1/4 and then 3/8 of an ounce. The other cool thing about it is around the collar itself, you can put scent on that. It's going to hold scent in that collar for about 20 to 30 minutes.
All right. Now, be sure to check your regulations to make sure that the river you're fishing does allow the use of scent, because there's some places where you can't. But if it does, that's a great deal. But I'll tell you what, the Wenatchee River, you've never been allowed to use anything except a bare hook that's barbless with no bait, and I have had great success. Again, it's the Glow Getter Jig from Max Lure Company. I understand you're not producing these anymore. You've got a bunch in inventory still, but they're not going to be around for long.
I'm glad you brought that up. The only way that you can do it is not through our catalog. You have to go online.
All right. So maxlure.com. That's the website to go to. Stock up on these glow getters for steelhead before it's too late. And that wraps up another Max Minute from Max Lure Company.
Listen up, steelheaders. Fishing jigs under slip bobbers is one of the best ways to hook up with a metalhead this season, and Max Lure Company has got 2 jigs you have got to have. The Glow Getter is a marabou jig with a stout hook that's perfect for waters where no bait is allowed. When you can use bait, tie on a rock dancer. Tip it with a shrimp and put some oil on the scent collar, and before you know it, you'll be catching some of the best fighting fish around. The Glow Getter and Rock Dancer jigs, only from Max Lure Company.
Leupold has been building optics in Oregon since 1907, and Leupold binoculars bring excellent optical performance and modern styling to the serious outdoorsman. Whether you're a boater, birder, backpacker, or hunter, Leupold's state-of-the-art binocular lines are sure to fit your needs. Visit Leupold.com or your local Cabela's, Bi-Mart, or Sportsman's Warehouse to see the full line of Leupold optics.
I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it. Gonna get up before the sun rise above us. Got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat.
Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we get to talk to an actual fishing legend. His name is Clancy Holt, and if you are a steelheader in Southwest Washington, you have doubtless heard his name. He's been guiding a long time. Bobby Loomis, National Sales Director of Max Lure Company and an avid steelheader himself, was telling me stories about Clancy introducing Quickfish on the North Fork and up here in Washington State to steelheaders years ago, about how he pioneered the use of side drifting for guides up here. Lot of institutional knowledge. Clancy, great to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Clancy, you fish in Southwest Washington. What are the rivers you're going to be chasing steelhead on this winter?
Well, we're going to be chasing steelhead on the Cowlitz River, the North Fork of the Lewis, and the Chehalis tributaries.
So we're talking the Wynoochee and the Satsep. Now, let's talk about the steelhead. For those that, we've got listeners in Idaho, we've got listeners in Montana and in eastern Oregon. These are winter steelhead. And what's the average size and how big do they get?
Well, it'll vary a little bit from river to river, but they should average from 7 to 12, 13 pounds with, depending on which river you're on, some teen-sized fish, some nice big teen-sized fish. Occasionally, we might get a 20-pounder, but they're rare, but they are there.
Well, that is good to know. Clancy, how long have you been guiding for steelhead now?
Well, I've been guiding for steelhead salmon and sturgeon my whole life. I guided my first trip when I was 16 years old. I'm 75 years old now. And I've been a professional licensed guide longer than they sold licenses. I'm talking about the states.
Wow.
In California, when I started guiding, I thought, well, I better get me a guide license for this. And I went to Sacramento, and they told me, we don't have fishing guide licenses. That was a long time ago. Many things have changed. That's a lot of water under the bridge. That's many, 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 many clients that I've taken fishing all over the western United States, and I live here now in the Northwest.
So, Clancy, what kind of boat do you have? I mean, are you still using a drift boat, or are you using a sled, or what do your clients fish out of these days?
No, we're fishing. A lot of our fishing has gone to the bigger waters. We have to stay to be a successful guide now, you have to stay where large numbers of fish are, quality fish, that you can present your clients to these fish every day. And so we fish the mainstem Columbia a lot. And we also fish, lots of the rivers and the tributaries, but I have an Aluma-Weld boat, Super V, 26-footer.
Nice.
My son has an Aluma-Weld Columbia. It's almost 27 foot, but these boats are designed so that they not only will handle the big water safely, but they'll run in very shallow water in the rivers. So that's what we're running. We got big engines on them. We got 225 or 250 Mercury engines on them, and we're fishing out of those.
Fantastic. Folks, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We have the privilege of talking to a true fishing legend. His name is Clancy Holt. He has been guiding almost 60 years now in California and Washington State and throughout the West. His specialty is winter steelhead. And I want to ask you, I mean, you've been guiding, like I said, a long, long time up here in the Northwest. What are some things that have changed over times in terms of maybe rivers that were really hot back in the day that aren't worth a darn now, or vice versa?
Well, first, the Cowlitz River was best producing river in the Northwest, in Washington, and in the Northwest for years. And the early winter steelhead that ran from Thanksgiving to after the first of the year, that was the biggest run of steelhead that any Northwest fisherman could enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame to say, I have to say thank you very much to our fishery managers, our Fish and Game. They decided to eliminate the early winter steelhead in the Cowlitz River, and they did.
And what was the reasoning for that, Clancy?
Well, a lot of legal baloney. I'm sorry.
Are we basically talking about the stock, so to speak? Some stocks are inferior to others. This whole wild versus
endangered species, and fish that were not native to the Cowlitz River is why that's why they eliminated the early winter run. They weren't native fish to the river, so and they have to abide by the rules laid down federally and all the way down the chain.
Right.
But still, that's a terrible thing.
So that is a terrible thing. I agree. And you're not the first person who has mentioned that the loss of this fishing opportunity has hit anglers really hard. But, they always talk about best science. I mean, is there anything that maybe fisheries managers are doing at least a little better now than they used to 30, 40 years ago?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that they're doing better now than they did before. I think that our king fishing, our fall king fishing, has been tremendous for the last 3 or 4 years, and I think a lot of that goes to better management of the water on the Columbia River.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have an organization called CCA.
Yes, we do.
That really fights hard for our resource and the way it's managed. And they're big enough where no matter what comes up, our agencies consider what they think about it. And, probably the best thing that anybody could do, and there's a lot of controversy, well, why don't they do this or why don't they do that? But they're the organization that can help us with our resource to make it stronger so that we can fish more and in a lot of different areas. And the first thing anybody could do would be to join CCA and support it. And if you don't agree with the direction they're going, participate and guide it, because it's our only hope.
There you go, folks. CCA, by the way, is the Coastal Conservation Association. They started out in the Gulf Coast. They now have a significant presence here in the Northwest. And their goal as an organization is basically, number one, conservation of our cold water fisheries and other fisheries as well. And number two, conservation with angler success and sustainable harvest in mind. So it's really a win-win if you're a recreational angler to support CCA. Clancy, you're absolutely right about that. We are running short on time, but before we go, want people to know a website they can go to and a phone number they can contact you at, because fishing with a man like you would be a true pleasure.
We are Clancy's Guided Sport Fishing, and Clancy's Guided Sport Fishing is comprised of 4 full-time guides. Myself, son Ron Holt, Riley Hutchison. So there's 4 of us, and we fish all over the Northwest. And I'm also guiding in Chile.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm guiding king salmon in Chile.
Okay. Well, folks, if you want to find out more, the website is clancysfishing.com. That's CLANCYS fishing.com. clancysfishing.com is the place to start. And can I give out your phone number too, Clancy?
Yes, you can. 360-880-0409.
That's 360-880-0409, 360-880-0409, or clancysfishing.com. Clancy, good to have you on the show again. Thanks so much for the trip down memory lane and some suggestions on how things can get better. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. You keep up the good work.
Got a bamboo pole and a leaky boat. It ain't much, but if you bail, it'll float. I'm gonna take you fishing, honey. You're gonna love it.
From the Columbia River to Puget Sound, the Coastal Conservation Association in the Pacific Northwest works to conserve the fish we love and does so while protecting our heritage of sport fishing. To find out more, go to ccapnw.org. Again, that's ccapnw.org.
Are you ready for some real adventure? Then wake up to winter in Wallowa County. Grab your camera, put on your snowshoes, and take a professionally guided hike into the quiet solitude and breathtakingly rugged beauty of the Eagle Cap Wilderness. Or sleep under the stars and test your mettle with some winter camping and ice fishing for kokanee and trout at Wallowa Lake. Or bring your snowmobile to Salt Creek Summit and explore Wallowa County on 150 miles of Northeast Oregon's best trails. Your outdoor winter adventure begins at www.wallawacountychambers.com.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. It's time again for news and reports from the field, brought to you every week from Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir, where the big news is the Northerns are in. That's right, big, fat, greenhead mallards, huge Canada geese, and a whole host of other birds have winged their way in from Canada over the last couple weeks, which equates to some great hunting. Mardon Resort operates a first-rate guide service offering both field hunts on leased farmland and hunts from blinds in the sand dunes area of Potholes Reservoir. I've been on both and have been so impressed. I've been coming back every year for close to a decade. Want to find out more about a quality duck or goose hunt in the Columbia Basin? Simply go to ducktaxi.com. That's ducktaxi.com. You'll get all the information you need. In outdoor news, we have the scoop on a predatory mammal being reintroduced into the mountains of western Washington. And no, it's not a wolf, it's the fisher. The Associated Press reports state and federal wildlife officials are preparing to reestablish fishers, a large weasel-like predator, into Mount Rainier and North Cascades National Parks and surrounding areas as part of an effort to restore the state-listed endangered animals to their previous range. The dark brown, forest-dwelling mammals historically were found throughout much of the forested areas of the state, but they declined in numbers due to overtrapping in the 1800s and early 1900s and the loss of forest habitats. Fishers are believed to have disappeared from Washington state in the mid-1900s. In coming weeks, a team of wildlife officials will take fishers captured from British Columbia and relocate them to the southwestern Washington Cascades, including Mount Rainier National Park and Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. The plan is to reintroduce 40 fishers a year for 2 years. If things go well, officials will relocate additional fishers to the Northwest Cascades as early as the fall of 2017. Each region would get 80 animals for a total of 160. The Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, the National Park Service, Conservation Northwest, and others are leading the effort. Turning our attention to trout, both large and small, there's a new opportunity for ice anglers in northern Idaho. According to Idaho Fish and Game, Avondale Lake, located near Hayden and Coeur d'Alene, was stocked with rainbow trout this fall, and they should be biting under the ice this winter. If you go, keep in mind most of the property around the lake is private. However, public access to the lake can be had by parking at the Avondale Golf Club and walking in from there. Another winter trout fishing opportunity can be found on the Blitzen River in southeast Oregon. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife reports the Blitzen has been flowing around 35 cubic feet per second, with water temperatures fluctuating, just above freezing. Recent reports indicate that fishing around the Page Springs campground has been productive. That's not far from French Glen, and fish have been taking dry flies throughout the day, with most of the action occurring, as you might imagine, midday. Anglers have also had some success swinging weighted streamers or other nymphs. Large redband trout are being found in deeper water along the banks where cover is available. Fish are being caught all throughout the Blitzen, but remember, a good portion is only open for catch and release fishing. By the way, anglers willing to hike the 3 miles into Bridge Creek have reported very good success near the lower canyon. These are better bets than what you'll find on the middle and upper portions of the Salmon River in Idaho, where the Fish and Game Department notes heavy slush ice made for difficult fishing conditions on the upper salmon last week. Angler interviews were actually stopped on the 1st of December due to the poor river conditions and low angler effort. On Monday and Tuesday, interviewed anglers upstream of the Middle Fork averaged 18 hours per steelhead and 31 hours per steelhead kept. Not so good, but even worse further upstream where checked anglers had no success whatsoever. Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're heading down towards Elkton, Oregon. That's right, Southwest Oregon. We're talking to Jody Smith, the owner of Jody Smith Guide Service, who does a lot of fishing and a lot of hunting down there. And Jody, I've been looking at your Facebook page. Your hunting season has gone very well this year, hasn't it?
It's been a good season. I was for Roosevelt, I was 4 for 4, and Blacktail we were 4 for 4. So that's about as good as you can get.
Well, not only that, especially those blacktail, those were some really nice bucks that you got this year.
Yeah, we got some really good ones. The one that actually had 8 scoreable points per side, and that was a buck right out of the Elkton area. A lot of times down in southern Oregon and Medford area, you get the bigger bucks, but this is an Elkton buck. That's a dandy for down here.
Well, nothing to sneeze at for sure. And a lot of people really don't associate going on guided hunts in Southwest Oregon in your neck of the woods, but as you're proving this year, it's pretty good. It's a pretty viable option, isn't it?
It is very good, and I was fortunate enough to get a couple new pieces of private property to lease to really up my chances, and it was nice. I had very good success on those, and it was nice not worrying about, what the other hunters were doing and what they did the night before and everything else. So that really helped me this year.
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk about something else, turkey hunting. It's December, but fall turkey hunting season continues all the way to the 31st. Is turkey hunting in December actually a viable option in Western Oregon?
Yeah, I've been doing the 2 fall turkey hunts every year for probably about 10 years now, and to date, I'm 100% on those hunts.
Wow. Now, are they really vocal this time of year or not?
A little bit. They don't call that well. I've tried breaking up the flocks and calling them in and doing all that stuff. But the best success I've had is just patterning the birds, right, and just getting to where they want to go. I do a little bit of calling, but no decoys. And there's a lot of birds. We've got about 60 or so right here on the place, and they've been gobbling a little bit and strutting some. But I haven't never had any success calling them this time of year.
Well, I'll tell you what, your neck of the woods in that general Roseburg, Oregon area is known as the place with the highest density of turkeys per square mile. There's 16-plus turkeys per square mile in that area. So if you haven't gotten your holiday gobbler yet, it's not too late. You might want to go there. If you need some help, Jody can give you some help with that as well. Let's turn our attention from hunting to fishing. I'm guessing that winter steelhead is now on your mind, and so is the Umpqua River.
Yeah, they're calling for about 5 inches of rain this week. There were fish caught today right behind my house, steelhead. Quite a few, not much pressure, but I think as soon as this water condition settles down after this rain, it's going to be red hot and rolling.
Where would you recommend folks fish the Umpqua, this time of year, the lower stretch or the middle stretch up by Elkton, or where would you send folks if they were to say, where should I go?
The best success has always been around Sawyer's Rapids to start with early in the season. They got boat landings there. It's a nice, easy drift for drift boats, about a 5-mile section there. And as the season increases and gets up, I just move upriver with them.
One other question I want to ask here is tactics. How do you go about catching winter steelhead? Are you back trolling plugs? Are you side drifting? What's the drill?
Well, the majority of everybody fishing down here is they're either side drifting or a modified technique, bobber dogging, which is basically the same thing with the use of the bobber. I started pulling plugs a couple years ago, a little bit more, partly because I had some clients that had done a lot of good years fishing. It was a little more difficult for them to cast, and it was easy for them to pull plugs. And, man, we've had really good success doing that. It's not for everyone, but it's a very deadly technique that a lot of the other people have quit doing over the last 10, 12 years. So it's a lot of fun.
And when it comes to side drifting or this bobber dogging, as you call it, are you fishing shrimp underneath? Are you fishing eggs underneath? What's the bait of choice?
Shrimp works. I do 100% on eggs. Just a yarn ball. Of course, there's 1,000 different colors, and everybody has their favorite. But something in a pink color, and I just use on the Umpqua, it seems to me like they like orange eggs better, so I'm using orange cured egg, just a light dab underneath, and that's the best success I've had.
All right, so there you go, folks. The Umpqua is a great place to go, but if you're not familiar with it, I'd really recommend a guided trip to get to know the river, number one, and to get to know the specific techniques for this river, number two. It will really increase your chances for success for future trips. And with that in mind, let's give folks your website and your phone number, not only for winter steelhead trips, but maybe for booking hunting trips for next year.
Well, my phone number is 541-643-6258. And the website's just jodysmithguideservice.com. JodySmithGuideService.com, and a lot of information is on my Facebook page at Jody Smith Guide Service. That's Jody Smith Guide Service.
That's JodySmithGuideService.com. The phone number again is 541-643-6258. That's 541-643-6258. Jody with the Y, SmithGuideService.com. He's one of the better guides you're ever going to meet out here in the Northwest, and he's a nice guy too. Jody, wishing you a Merry Christmas. Thanks for spending some time with us on Northwestern Outdoors this week.
My pleasure, and you have a good holiday too.
If you've ever been fishing in Mexico, you know how good it can be, and now you can fish there with the Real News. Take your choice of a trip to Baja's East Cape for roosterfish, marlin, and dorado. These trips are value priced, so you can stretch your dollars in fun. To find out more about fishing Mexico with the Real News, log on to therealnews.com or call 425-334-8966. Again, that's therealnews.com or 425-334-8966. For an incredible adventure.
Do you want to go fishing with an actual legend? You can. His name's Ed Iman. He will take you fishing for walleye, for sturgeon, for steelhead, and smallmouth bass on the Columbia River between the Dalles Dam and McNary Dam.
I'm Ed Iman, and I'd like to take you fishing on the mighty Columbia River.
That's Ed Iman. Give him a call at 541-298-3753. 541-298-3753. Go fishing with Ed at 541-298-3753.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Let's run through some upcoming events. If you're looking at getting into the Christmas spirit this weekend, consider a trip to Silver Falls State Park in Western Oregon, where the 38th annual Christmas Festival is happening both Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 4. There's going to be snacks, live music, the opportunity to make some Christmas crafts, and best of all, the chance to hike and see the beautiful waterfalls here at this park. If you want to spend an evening strolling through gardens full of thousands and thousands and thousands of bright holiday Christmas lights and decorations, I've got some suggestions for you. One place to go is Shore Acres State Park, south of Coos Bay. It's right off of Highway 101. And the other place is at the Idaho Botanical Gardens in Boise, off of Old Penitentiary Road. Both places are open daily from dusk till about 9 p.m. And having been to the park in Boise, I can tell you it is spectacular. There's a small admission fee for both places, but the price, believe me, is well worth it. Here's a question for you. Have you finished your Christmas shopping? Well, if you haven't, head to your local Sportsman's Warehouse store. There's over 60 of them, and they are having big sales throughout the holiday season. There's more sales going on right now. If you're undecided about what to give the sportsman in your life and you're trying to stretch your budget dollars, Sportsman's Warehouse is the place for you. If you actually don't have one that close to you, don't worry. Go online. There's sales on their website too. It's sportsmanswarehouse.com. That's sportsmanswarehouse.com, the home of America's premier outfitter. And with Christmas in mind, we've got your trivia question of the week. Everyone knows reindeer pull Santa's sleigh, and everyone knows reindeer are found in the Arctic and throughout Alaska and northern Canada. However, in North America, these reindeer are referred to by another name. Do you know what these big game animals are called? Big game animals that are popular with some hunters, by the way. If you do, just go to our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio, like our page, go to the post where we have our question, and give us your answer. Likewise, you can go to our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. Simply go to our Contact Us page, and again, give us your answer. What are those reindeer called here in North America? They're not called reindeer, they're called something else. One lucky person who gives us the correct answer is going to be a winner this week, and we will give them a $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse. While you're on the web, be sure to check out RenoViolaOutdoors.com. That's the home of WRVO Radio. It's an internet station dedicated to outdoors programming 7 days a week. We are part of a lineup of well over 30 outdoors radio programs there. You can actually hear our show 4 times every Wednesday, but there's lots of other good shows too. The website again, RenoViolaOutdoors.com, the home of WRVO Radio. That's all for this week. We may be on the cusp of winter, but that doesn't mean you have to stay inside. So until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.
Ducks Unlimited is the leading waterfowl and wetlands conservation organization in the world. Here in Idaho, we've lost nearly 76% of our wetlands. Ducks Unlimited is working to stop that loss. In Idaho alone, DU has restored and conserved over 27,000 acres of wetlands. Learn more about the benefits of wetlands and what Ducks Unlimited is doing for Idaho's future. Visit ducks.org/Idaho.